Naomi Baptiste never expected a single word to rewrite her destiny or catch the attention of the most feared man in Seoul's underworld. At an underground poker tournament, crackling with dangerous money and deadlier men, she saw what everyone else ignored. Respect costs nothing, but changes everything. When she called him sir while refilling his whiskey, the entire room went silent. She didn't know he hadn't been addressed with genuine respect in 15 years. She didn't know she was the first woman in his empire who wanted absolutely nothing from him. But when his obsidian eyes locked onto hers with an intensity that could shatter glass, something inside the ruthless Mafia king cracked open, and his entire world realigned around her presence. Welcome to Love and Tension. If you're already hooked, hit that subscribe button because this story is about to get dangerously unpredictable. 3 weeks before that fateful night, Naomi Baptiste stood in her Chicago studio apartment, staring at the eviction notice taped to her door. 72 hours. That's all she had left before her landlord changed the locks and threw what little she owned onto the street. She crumpled the notice in her fist, jaw tight as she stepped inside and locked the door behind her. The apartment was sparse. A mattress on the floor, a microwave on a folding table, 3 boxes of clothes she'd never fully unpacked. She'd been here 8 months, and it still looked temporary. Everything in her life looked temporary. Her phone buzzed, another call from the collection agency. She silenced it without looking. The medical bills from her sister's funeral 2 years ago had followed her from Atlanta to Memphis to Chicago, growing like a tumor she couldn't cut out. $15,000 for 3 days in ICU before Simone died anyway. $15,000 to watch her baby sister slip away while machines beeped their useless rhythm. Naomi sat on the edge of her mattress and pressed her palms against her eyes. She was 28 years old, had worked every day since she was 14, and had nothing to show for it except debt and exhaustion. The diner where she'd been working just cut her hours again. New management, new priorities, new girls willing to smile wider for smaller tips. It wasn't supposed to be this way, she whispered to the empty room. She'd been smart once, top of her class at community college before she had to drop out to take care of Simone. She'd been ambitious once, dreaming of opening her own restaurant where people felt seen and valued. But life had other plans. Life always had other plans for girls like her, black girls from the South Side with no safety net and no one to call when the bottom dropped out. Her laptop sat on the folding table, the screen dark. She should be job hunting, apartment hunting, life hunting. Instead, she just sat there, feeling the weight of every bad decision and worse luck pressing down on her shoulders like a physical thing. Her phone buzzed again. This time, not the collection agency. A text from Iris, her only friend from the old Atlanta days who'd somehow landed in Seoul teaching English. Iris. Girl, I know this is random, but hear me out. There's a position here, upscale private dining, American-style service. They specifically want someone with your experience. Pay is stupid good. Room included. I already told them about you. Naomi stared at the message for a full minute. Seoul, South Korea. As far from Chicago as she could get without leaving the planet. Naomi. How good is stupid good? Iris. Triple what you're making now, plus tips that could clear your debt in a year. These aren't regular people, Nay. These are rich, dangerous rich. But if you can keep your head down and your mouth shut, you could actually build something. Dangerous rich. The words should have scared her. Instead, she felt something she hadn't felt in months. Possibility. She typed and deleted 3 different responses before settling on, "Send me the details." That night, she lay awake on her mattress, staring at the water stain spreading across her ceiling like a map of somewhere better. Seoul, a city where no one knew her story, her failures, her sister's death, her drowning debt, a place where she could be anyone, or at least, someone other than this. The interview happened over video call at 2 a.m. Chicago time, afternoon in Seoul. Naomi sat in the public library, her laptop balanced on a desk in the corner, wearing the one blazer she owned over a thrift store blouse. 3 faces appeared on screen. 2 Korean men in expensive suits, and 1 woman with silver-streaked hair and eyes that missed nothing. "Miss Baptiste," the woman said, her English crisp and unaccented. "I'm Yoon Hana. I manage private services for select clientele in Seoul. Iris spoke very highly of you." "Thank you for considering me," Naomi said, keeping her voice steady even as her heart hammered. "Your resume shows significant gaps," one of the men noted. "Can you explain?" This was it. The moment she could lie or tell a truth that would probably disqualify her. Naomi chose truth. "My younger sister got sick. Cancer. I took care of her for 18 months before she passed. The medical bills bankrupted me. I've been rebuilding since." Silence. The 3 faces on screen exchanged glances. "I'm sorry for your loss," Hannah said finally. Then, unexpectedly, how did you manage the caregiving and work simultaneously? I didn't sleep much, Naomi admitted. Took shifts at a diner from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., then stayed with Simone until the next morning. When she got worse, I quit and went through my savings. When that ran out, I took on debt. That's admirable, Hannah said. But I need to know, are you running from something? Or running toward something? The question hit like a fist. Naomi sat back considering. Both, she said honestly. I'm running from a version of my life that's going nowhere, and I'm running toward the chance to build something that matters. Another exchange of glances. Our clientele is unconventional, Hannah continued. They require discretion above all else. You will see things, hear things, and you will speak of none of it. Not to friends, not to family, not to anyone. Can you do that? Yes. You'll work primarily evening events, high-stakes gatherings. The men who attend are powerful and dangerous. Some are violent. All are ruthless. Your job is to be invisible while providing impeccable service. Can you do that? Something in Naomi's chest tightened. This wasn't just a restaurant job. This was something else entirely. But she thought of the eviction notice, the collection calls, the crushing weight of starting over in the same broken place. Yes, she said again, firmer this time. Hannah studied her through the screen, those sharp eyes seeming to see straight through to her bones. Then she smiled. Small, but genuine. When can you start? How soon do you need me? Yesterday. Naomi let out a breath that was almost a laugh. Give me a week to settle things here. I can be on a plane next Sunday. Done. We'll arrange your flight and accommodation. Welcome to Seoul, Miss Baptiste. The screen went dark. Naomi sat in the library's fluorescent silence, her hands shaking. She'd just committed to moving across the world to work for people Hannah herself called dangerous. She should be terrified. Instead, she felt alive. The flight was 14 hours of cramped seats and recycled air. Naomi landed at Incheon International Airport with 2 suitcases, $300, and a confidence that felt borrowed. Seoul hit her immediately. The signs in Hangul she couldn't read, the rapid-fire conversations she couldn't understand, the press of millions of people moving with purpose she didn't share. Iris met her at arrivals, looking impossibly polished in designer jeans and a leather jacket. You actually came, she said, pulling Naomi into a hug. I half thought you'd back out. Nearly did. Twice, Naomi admitted. The apartment Hannah's agency provided was in Gangnam, a neighborhood Naomi recognized from pop culture as Seoul's wealthy heart. The building was sleek glass and steel, the kind of place with a doorman and elevator music. Her unit was small but modern, a studio with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a maze of identical towers stretching toward mountains in the distance. This is included in the compensation? Naomi asked, disbelieving. Told you. Stupid good, Iris said. But nay, seriously, these people aren't playing. Keep your head down, do your job, don't ask questions. What kind of people are they? Iris's expression shifted, still friendly but guarded. The kind you don't Google. The kind you smile at, serve well, and forget the second you clock out. That night, alone in her new apartment, Naomi stood at the window and watched Seoul's lights pulse like a living thing. Somewhere out there, in this city of 10 million strangers, were the dangerous men Hannah had mentioned. The powerful ones, the ruthless ones. She'd meet them soon enough. For now, she unpacked her 3 boxes and tried to believe she'd made the right choice. The venue wasn't what Naomi expected. She'd imagined a restaurant, maybe a private club. Instead, Hannah led her through an unmarked door in an upscale office building, down a hallway lined with security cameras, and into an elevator that required a fingerprint scan. Tonight is observation only, Hannah explained as they descended. You'll shadow Mireille, one of our senior servers. Watch how she moves, how she speaks, how she doesn't speak. These men value silence and efficiency above all. The elevator doors opened onto a space that stole Naomi's breath. It was an underground hall designed to look like old Korean royalty. Rich wood panels, silk screens, low tables surrounded by floor cushions. But the men gathered there shattered any historical illusion. They wore modern suits that probably cost more than Naomi's annual salary, their wrists heavy with watches that could buy houses. And the tension. It hung in the air like smoke, thick and choking. Poker tournament, Hannah murmured. Monthly event. Very high stakes. Very dangerous people. Stay close to Mireille, speak only when spoken to, and for God's sake, don't stare. Mireille appeared. A Korean woman in her 30s, beautiful and blank-faced, carrying a tray of crystal glasses. She gave Naomi one sharp nod and moved into the room like a ghost. Naomi followed. The tournament was already underway. 20 men sat at 4 tables, cards and chips before them, expressions ranging from bored to murderous. Security lined the walls, big men with earpieces and bulges under their jackets that definitely weren't phones. Naomi's job was simple. Keep glasses full, ashtrays empty, and herself invisible. She managed for 2 hours. Then she approached the center table to refill a whiskey glass, and her world tilted sideways. The man seated at the head of the table was younger than the others, maybe mid-30s, with sharp features and black hair swept back from a face that looked carved from marble. His suit was midnight blue, perfectly tailored, and he wore it like armor. But it was his eyes that stopped her, obsidian dark and absolutely empty, like looking into a well with no bottom. He didn't acknowledge her as she reached for his glass, didn't even glance up. To him, she was furniture. Naomi had been furniture before, had been invisible to men like him her whole life, men with power who looked through her like she was air. Usually, it didn't bother her. Usually, she preferred it. But something about his complete dismissal, the way he stared at his cards like she literally didn't exist, sparked something hot and reckless in her chest. She picked up his glass, refilled it with the expensive whiskey, set it down precisely where it had been. And then, for reasons she'd question for the rest of her life, she said, "Your whiskey, sir." The room went silent. Every head turned, every conversation stopped. Even the security guards shifted, hands moving toward weapons. The man's eyes lifted slowly from his cards to her face. For 3 seconds, that felt like 3 hours. He just stared at her. Naomi's heart tried to punch through her ribs. She'd fucked up, broken some unspoken rule. Hannah was going to fire her, and she'd be back in Chicago before the week ended. But the man's expression didn't change. He simply looked at her, really looked like she'd suddenly materialized from thin air, and said in perfect English, "Sir." It wasn't a question. It was something else, like he was testing the word in his mouth. Naomi's training kicked in. She bowed slightly, professionally. "Is there anything else you require, sir?" Another beat of silence. Then he returned to his cards, dismissing her with the same absoluteness as before. But as Naomi backed away, she saw it. The smallest shift in his posture, the way his shoulders loosened by a fraction of an inch, the ghost of something that might have been surprise flickering across his face. Mireille grabbed her arm the second they were back in the kitchen. "What the hell was that?" "What? You spoke to Kang Dae-hyun. You initiated conversation with Kang Dae-hyun. Do you have any idea who he is?" The name meant nothing to Naomi. She shook her head. Mireille's face went pale. "He runs the Kang Syndicate, controls half of Seoul's underground economy. He's killed men for less than speaking out of turn." Naomi's stomach dropped. "I didn't know. I was just being polite." "Polite," Mireille repeated, like the word was foreign. She glanced back toward the hall, then at Naomi, her expression shifting from anger to something like confusion. "He didn't kill you. Is that unusual? Last month, a server bumped his shoulder, accidentally. Kang had him fired and blacklisted from every establishment in the city." Mireille studied Naomi's face like she was a puzzle missing pieces. "You called him sir and he just sat there. Maybe he didn't care." "Kang Dae-hyun cares about everything," Mireille said quietly. "That's what makes him dangerous." For the rest of the night, Naomi kept her head down and her mouth shut, but she felt his eyes on her. Every time she moved through the room, every time she passed his table, she felt the weight of his attention like a physical thing. When the tournament ended near dawn, the men filtered out through different exits. Naomi was clearing glasses when Hannah appeared at her elbow. "You spoke to him." "I'm sorry, I didn't know." "I'm not firing you," Hannah interrupted. "I'm warning you. Kang Dae-hyun is not a man you want noticing you." "I'll be more careful." Hannah's expression was unreadable. "I'm not sure careful matters anymore. He asked for your name." Naomi's blood went cold. "What did you tell him?" "The truth." Naomi Baptiste. American, new to Seoul. Hannah stepped closer, her voice dropping. "Whatever happens next, remember, you cannot run from men like him. You can only survive them." Naomi didn't see Kang Dae-hyun again for 3 weeks. She worked 6 more events, smaller gatherings, private dinners, one memorable night serving at what Mireille called a territory negotiation that ended with 2 men being dragged out bleeding. Naomi kept her head down, her service impeccable, her mouth shut, but she couldn't stop thinking about him. Those empty eyes. The way the entire room had reacted to her simple "sir," like she'd detonated a bomb. The fact that he'd asked for her name, which meant he was still thinking about her too. "Stop it," Iris said over coffee in Naomi's apartment. They'd fallen into a routine. Sunday mornings, cheap coffee, expensive view. "I can see you spiraling." "I'm not spiraling. You've Googled him 17 times. 18, Naomi admitted, and every article just says the same thing. Ruthless, violent, untouchable. Took over his father's organization at 25 after the old man got killed in a power struggle. Consolidated control by eliminating every rival family over 6 months. Now he runs everything from gambling to shipping to nightclubs. Exactly. So forget him. I'm trying. But forgetting Kang Dae-hyun proved impossible, because on the 22nd day, Hana called her at 11 p.m. You have a private assignment tomorrow night. Naomi sat up in bed. What kind of assignment? Dinner service, one client, penthouse in Cheongdam-dong. Something in Hana's voice made Naomi's skin prickle. Who's the client? Silence. Then, Kang requested you specifically. The phone almost slipped from Naomi's hand. Why? He didn't say. But Naomi, this is not optional. When Kang Dae-hyun requests something, you comply or you disappear. Disappear like quit the job, or disappear like, you know which one. Naomi closed her eyes, her heart rate spiking. Okay, what do I need to do? Be professional, be respectful, be very, very careful. Hana paused. And Naomi, whatever he asks, say yes. The line went dead. Naomi sat in the dark of her apartment, phone clutched in her hand, and tried to convince herself this was fine. Just dinner service, just one client, just the most dangerous man in Seoul, specifically requesting the new American girl who'd accidentally shown him basic human respect. Nothing to worry about. Nothing at all. If you've felt invisible before, if someone finally seeing you ever changed your life, drop a comment about which moment hit different for you. Let's talk about it. The car arrived at 7 p.m. A black sedan with tinted windows and a driver who didn't speak. Naomi wore her standard uniform, black slacks, white button-down, hair pulled back in a neat bun. Professional, invisible, except she didn't feel invisible as the sedan wound through Cheongdam-dong's luxury high-rises, each building more expensive than the last. She felt exposed, seen, like prey being delivered to a predator's den. The penthouse occupied the entire top floor of a glass tower that seemed to pierce the sky. The elevator required a key card the driver provided, and as Naomi ascended alone, she focused on breathing. In through the nose, out through the mouth. She'd survived worse than a dinner service. She'd survived Simone's death, the debt, the eviction. She could survive this. The elevator opened directly into the penthouse. Naomi stepped into a space that redefined wealth. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Seoul's glittering sprawl. The furniture was minimal, but clearly worth more than her life. Sleek leather, dark wood. Art on the walls that looked museum quality. Everything was precise, controlled, intimidating, and standing at the windows, hands in his pockets, was Kang Dae-hyun. He didn't turn as she entered. Close the elevator, he said in English. Naomi pressed the button. The doors slid shut behind her, sealing her in. You're nervous, he continued, still facing the windows. No, sir. The lie came automatically. Don't lie to me. Now he turned, and the full weight of his attention hit her like a physical force. He'd removed his jacket, stood in black slacks and a white dress shirt with the sleeves rolled to his forearms. Even casual, he looked dangerous. I can see your pulse from here. Naomi's hand went unconsciously to her throat. My apologies, sir. Why do you call me that? The question caught her off guard. Sir? Yes. At the tournament, you were the only server who used the title. Why? Naomi considered lying again, decided against it. Where I'm from, it's a sign of respect. Basic manners. And you believe I deserve respect? I believe everyone deserves basic respect, sir. Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, maybe, or something darker. He moved toward her with the controlled grace of a predator, stopping close enough that she could smell his cologne. Expensive, subtle, masculine. Do you know who I am? He asked quietly. Yes, sir. And you're here anyway. I was told compliance wasn't optional. The corner of his mouth twitched, not quite a smile, but the suggestion of one. Hana said that? Among other things. What other things? Naomi met his eyes, refusing to look away even as her instincts screamed to submit. That you're dangerous, that I should be very careful, that saying no wasn't an option. And if I asked you to leave right now? The question was a test. Naomi knew tests. Then I would ask if I'd done something wrong, sir. You'd ask? His head tilted slightly. Not just leave? I was taught that clarity prevents misunderstanding. Kang Dae-hyun studied her for a long moment, those obsidian eyes searching for something she couldn't name. Then he stepped back, the intensity dialing down by a fraction. I had dinner prepared, he said, gesturing toward the dining area, but I'm not hungry for food. Naomi's stomach dropped. He caught her expression and made a sound that might have been amusement. Not that. Sit down. It wasn't a request. Naomi moved to the dining table, a slab of dark wood that could seat 12 but was set for 2. She remained standing until he sat first, then lowered herself into the chair opposite. You interest me, Kang said bluntly. That doesn't happen. I'm not interesting, sir. You called me sir. In 15 years, no one has called me that. They call me boss or Kang Neem, or use my name with fear in their voices. But sir? He leaned back, studying her. That was respect without fear. How? Naomi chose her words carefully. I didn't know you yet, sir. Fear requires knowledge. And now that you know? Now I know you're powerful, dangerous, capable of violence. She paused. But also human. Humans respond to basic courtesy. You think I'm human. I think you want to be." The words came out before she could stop them. The second they landed, Naomi wanted to snatch them back. Too familiar, too presumptuous, too... "You're right." Naomi's eyes snapped to his. Kang Dae-hyun's expression had shifted into something unreadable, almost vulnerable. "I built an empire where everyone fears me," he continued quietly. "Where respect comes from power, not courtesy. Where I am a weapon first, a man second." He leaned forward. "And then you walked into that tournament and treated me like I was just another person requiring service. Do you understand how dangerous that should have been?" "Yes, sir. But you did it anyway." "I didn't know better. And now that you do?" Naomi's heart hammered. This was it, the moment she could back down, apologize, become small, or she could hold her ground. She held her ground. "Now I know better, sir, but I don't think my approach was wrong." For the first time, Kang Dae-hyun actually smiled. Small, sharp, genuine. "No," he agreed. "It wasn't." He stood abruptly. "Come with me." Kang led Naomi deeper into the penthouse, through a hallway lined with more expensive art, into a room that made her breath catch. It was an office, but not like any office she'd seen. One wall was entirely glass, overlooking Seoul. Another was covered in monitors showing security feeds from what looked like dozens of locations. The desk was massive, dark wood matching the dining table, covered in papers and laptops and a single glass of whiskey. "I have a problem," Kang said, moving behind the desk. "I need someone I can trust." "Sir, we just met." "Exactly. You have no connections to my world, no loyalty to rival families, no history I need to navigate." He opened a drawer, pulled out a folder, slid it across the desk. "You also have significant debt and nowhere else to go." Naomi stiffened. "You investigated me. I investigate everyone who interests me. Medical bills from your sister's death, collection agencies bleeding you dry, eviction in Chicago. You came to Seoul with nothing because you had nothing left to lose." His eyes held hers. "I'm not judging. I'm offering." "Offering what?" "A position. Personal assistant. You'd handle my legitimate business operations, manage my schedule, attend meetings as my representative." He gestured at the monitors. "You'd see everything, know everything, and in return, I'd pay you enough to clear your debt in 6 months and build whatever life you want after." It was too much, too fast, too good to be true. Every instinct Naomi had screamed trap. "Why me?" she asked. "Because you called me sir," Kang said simply. "Because in a room full of people who wanted something from me, you just wanted to do your job well. Because when you look at me, you don't see a monster. You see a person." He paused. "I need that. I don't understand your world, sir. You'll learn. I'm not qualified. You survived your sister's death while drowning in debt and kept going. You're more qualified than half the people I employ." He leaned forward. "I'm not asking you to run my operations. I'm asking you to be present, observant, and honest. Can you do that?" Naomi stared at the folder on the desk, her mind racing. This was insane. Working directly for a crime lord, seeing everything, knowing everything. It was dangerous, probably illegal, definitely the worst decision she could make. But it was also a way out, a real, concrete way out of debt, out of drowning, out of the endless cycle of poverty that had claimed her entire life. "What if I say no?" she asked. "Then you go back to Hana's rotation. I'll ensure you're safe and employed." His voice was steady, genuine. "This is an offer, not an order." That shocked her more than anything. The choice. The freedom to walk away. "I need to think about it," Naomi said. "You have until tomorrow." Kang stood, moving around the desk. "The driver will take you home. Whatever you decide, you'll be compensated for tonight." He extended his hand. Naomi stared at it for a moment. This man's hand, which had probably ordered deaths, definitely ordered violence, now offered to her like a gentleman. She shook it. His grip was warm, firm, controlled. "Thank you for considering it, sir," she said. "Naomi." Her name and his voice sent an unexpected shiver down her spine. "If you take this position, you'll learn things about me, things that might scare you. But I promise you this, I will never lie to you, and I will never let anyone harm you. Those are the only guarantees I can offer." "That's more than most people offer, sir." The almost smile returned. "Tomorrow, then." The driver took her home in silence. Naomi sat in the back seat watching Seoul blur past, her mind spinning with impossible decisions. She could say no. Go back to serving at tournaments and private dinners. Stay safe, stay small, stay invisible. Or she could say yes, step into Kang Dae-hyun's dangerous world, see everything, know everything, become complicit in whatever darkness he controlled. The smart choice was obvious, but Naomi Baptiste had never been rewarded for smart choices. That night, she called Iris. "He offered you a job?" Iris's voice went high. "Kang Dae-hyun personally offered you a job? As his assistant, he'd pay enough to clear my debt in 6 months. Nay, that's..." Iris paused. That's either the best thing that could happen to you or the worst. I can't tell which. Neither can I. What are you going to do? Naomi stared out her window at Seoul's endless lights, at this city that had become her last chance, and made her decision. I'm going to survive, she said, whatever that takes. The next morning, she called Hana and accepted the position. 24 hours later, her life as she knew it ended, and something far more dangerous began. What would you do? Take the safe road or risk everything for a way out? Drop your thoughts below, and if this story's got you hooked, smash that like button and subscribe to Love and Tension for more. Kang's world moved faster than anything Naomi had experienced. Her first day started at 6 a.m. in his penthouse office. He was already there, 3 phones on the desk, 2 laptops open, monitors cycling through security feeds. He barely looked up when she entered. Coffee is in the kitchen. Black, 2 sugars for me. Pour yourself whatever you want, then sit there. He pointed at a leather chair opposite his desk. Watch and listen. Don't speak unless I ask you a direct question. For 3 hours, Naomi watched Kang Daeun run an empire. Calls came in rapid succession, some in Korean, some in English, a few in languages she didn't recognize. He switched between them fluidly, his voice modulating from cold command to warm charm to explicit threat, depending on who was on the line. Between calls, he typed with brutal efficiency, approving transfers, denying requests, issuing orders that moved millions of dollars with a few keystrokes. And Naomi saw the pattern. Every decision was calculated, every word deliberate. He never raised his voice, never showed emotion, never wasted a syllable. When a man on the phone tried to negotiate a drug shipment, Kang simply said, "You're 3 days late. The penalty is 20% of your cut or I find a new supplier. Choose." The man chose the penalty. When a woman called about a nightclub manager embezzling, Kang listened for exactly 90 seconds, then, "Prove it by tomorrow or you're both gone." He hung up before she could respond. Efficient, ruthless, terrifyingly effective. At 9 a.m., he finally looked at Naomi. Questions? She had 100. She asked one. "Why do you keep the security monitors on while you work?" "Because trust is expensive and betrayal is cheap. I need to see everything, all the time." He gestured at the screens showing warehouses, nightclubs, street corners. "My empire runs on fear, but fear only works if people believe I'm always watching." "Are you?" "No, but they don't know that." Over the following days, Naomi's role crystallized. She wasn't just an assistant, she was Kang's interface with the legitimate side of his business. The restaurants, the real estate holdings, the import-export company that served as a front for his smuggling operations. She attended meetings with lawyers and accountants, people who spoke in corporate language while everyone knew what was really being discussed, and she learned to see what wasn't said. During a meeting with a construction contractor about a new nightclub, Naomi noticed the man's eyes kept darting to his phone. Small tells, quick glances. When Kang stepped out to take a call, she leaned forward. "Expecting someone?" she asked casually. The contractor's smile was tight. "Just nervous. Big meeting." But his pupils dilated when he lied. Naomi had learned to read tells in the diner, customers who claimed they'd come back to pay, boyfriends who swore they weren't cheating, managers who promised better shifts. Lies had a texture. When Kang returned, Naomi caught his eye and gave the smallest head shake. After the meeting, in the car, Kang asked, "Why the signal?" He was lying. About being nervous, about the project, probably about the budget. Naomi replayed the conversation in her head. He kept checking his phone like he was coordinating with someone. If I had to guess, he's either inflating costs to skim money or he's feeding information to a competitor. Kang was silent for 3 blocks. Then, "I'll have him investigated." 2 days later, the contractor was arrested for fraud. Kang had fed false information through him to a rival family, tracked where it went, and eliminated both the leak and the rival in one move. "Your instinct was correct," he told Naomi that evening. "You saved me $500,000 and exposed a spy. I just noticed he was lying, sir. Most people don't notice, or they notice and say nothing." He studied her with those intense eyes. "You notice, and you speak. That makes you valuable." By the end of her first week, Naomi had helped identify 2 more problems: a money laundering scheme run by one of Kang's own accountants, and a pattern in the security feeds suggesting one of his nightclubs was being used for unauthorized deals. She was learning his world, learning to see the violence beneath the business language, the threats beneath the politeness, the constant chess game where one wrong move meant disappearing. And Kang was learning her. He noticed she took her coffee the same way every morning. Black, no sugar, hot enough to burn. He noticed she had a tell when she was uncomfortable. Her left hand would touch her collarbone, just briefly. He noticed she never talked about her sister unless directly asked, and even then, she kept it clinical. "You wall off your pain," he observed one evening, late in the office. Naomi looked up from the contract she was reviewing. So do you, sir. I have to. You don't. Don't I? She set the contract down. You built walls to survive your world. I built walls to survive mine. Maybe we're not so different. Kang leaned back in his chair, something unreadable crossing his face. Maybe we're not. That night, leaving the penthouse at midnight, Naomi realized something that should have terrified her, but didn't. She was starting to trust him, starting to see past the ruthless crime lord to the human beneath, the one who called his mother every Sunday, who personally approved college scholarships for employees' children through anonymous foundations, who kept a photo of his younger brother on his desk, even though the brother had died 15 years ago. Kang Dae-hyun was dangerous, violent, ruthless, but he was also lonely, isolated by power and fear. And Naomi understood loneliness like she understood her own heartbeat. The attack came on day 11. Naomi was leaving the penthouse at 11 p.m., exhausted from a 16-hour day of meetings and contracts. The sedan was waiting, driver ready. Standard protocol. But halfway to her apartment, 2 black vans boxed them in. The driver swore in Korean, reaching for something under the seat. Before he could grab it, bullets shattered the windshield. The driver slumped forward, blood spreading across the dashboard. Naomi's scream caught in her throat. Training from nowhere, from surviving, from years of navigating danger, kicked in. She threw herself to the floorboard as doors ripped open and hands grabbed her. "Don't fight," a voice said in accented English. "Boss wants to talk." She fought anyway. Kicked, scratched, bit, got an elbow into someone's ribs, heard a satisfying grunt, but there were too many of them, and they were too strong. A cloth pressed over her face, chemical sweet and suffocating. Darkness swallowed her. Naomi woke in a warehouse, cold concrete beneath her, zip ties cutting into her wrists, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. Her head pounded, vision blurry. She blinked until the room came into focus. 5 men stood around her, and seated on a metal chair directly in front of her was someone who radiated the same dangerous authority as Kang, but twisted. Where Kang was controlled precision, this man was volatile chaos. "Miss Baptiste," he said, his smile sharp as broken glass. "I'm Park Jun. I believe you work for someone I used to do business with." Used to, past tense. That meant rival, enemy, threat. Naomi's mouth was dry, but she forced out words. "I don't know what you want." "Information about Kang's operations, his shipments, his accounts, his weaknesses." Park leaned forward. "Give me that, and I'll let you go home. Refuse and—" He shrugged. "Well, you seem smart enough to understand consequences. I've only worked for him 11 days. I don't know anything useful. You know more than you think. You attend his meetings, see his files, hear his calls." Park's eyes glittered. "You're the first person he's trusted in years. That makes you very valuable." Naomi's brain raced. She could lie, buy time. But Park didn't seem like someone who believed lies easily. She could tell the truth, that she really didn't know anything useful yet, but that might just get her killed faster. Or she could gamble. "If I'm so valuable," she said slowly, "why would he trade anything for me? I've worked for him 11 days. I'm nobody. Are you?" Park pulled out a phone, showed her the screen. It was security footage of her and Kang in his office, him explaining something while she listened intently. "He talks to you. Really talks. Not orders, not commands. Conversation. Kang Dae-hyun doesn't converse with anyone. That doesn't mean I matter. Then you won't mind dying to prove it." The gun appeared faster than Naomi could track. 1 second, Park's hands were empty. The next, a pistol was pointed at her forehead. Her heart stopped. This was it. She was going to die in a warehouse in Seoul, alone, because she'd trusted the wrong dangerous man. But she met Park's eyes anyway, refused to look away. "Go ahead," she said, voice surprisingly steady. "But you'll never know what I could have told you." Park's finger tightened on the trigger, and then the warehouse doors exploded inward. Kang Dae-hyun entered like a natural disaster, controlled, devastating, inevitable. He had 12 men with him, all armed, all moving with military precision. But Kang himself walked in unarmed, hands in his pockets, expression absolutely empty. "Park," he said conversationally, "you made a mistake." Park's gun swung from Naomi to Kang. "Did I? I have your assistant, your pet project, the first person you've let close in 15 years. You have an employee, one I've known for 11 days. Kang's voice was mild, almost bored. "Hardly worth starting a war over." Naomi's stomach dropped. He was going to abandon her, let Park kill her to avoid the conflict. She'd been a fool to think she mattered. But then Kang's eyes met hers, and she saw it. Fury. Absolute, incandescent fury, locked down so tight it barely showed. "However," Kang continued, still in that mild tone, "you killed my driver, damaged my vehicle, and wasted my evening. Those things do annoy me. So we'll call it even. I let your girl go. You forget this happened. No. The word was soft, final. Park's expression shifted, confidence cracking. You're willing to start a war over an assistant? I'm willing to end you for touching what's mine. Now the fury leaked through, turning Kang's voice to ice. You should have killed her immediately. The moment you decided to take her, you should have put a bullet in her head and sent me the body. That might have been survivable, but you didn't. You kept her alive, thinking you could use her as leverage, thinking I'd negotiate. Kang took a step forward, and every gun in the warehouse tracked the movement. I don't negotiate, Park. I eliminate problems. I have 50 men outside, Park said, but his voice wavered. I have 200 surrounding this building. Kang smiled then, and it was the most terrifying thing Naomi had ever seen. Empty, cold, promising violence. You're already dead. The only question is whether you die alone or take your men with you. The standoff lasted 10 seconds that felt like hours. Then, Park made his choice. The gun swung back toward Naomi. But Kang moved faster than should have been possible, a knife appearing in his hand, throwing it with surgical precision. It buried itself in Park's wrist. The gun clattered to the floor. Then, chaos. Kang's men flooded in. Gunfire erupted. Naomi threw herself flat, hands still zip-tied, as bullets punched through the air where her head had been. Someone grabbed her ankle. She kicked blindly, connected with something soft. A grunt, then hands released her. And then Kang was there, crouching beside her, cutting the zip ties with the same knife he'd thrown. When had he retrieved it? His body shielding hers as the firefight raged around them. Stay down, he ordered. Wasn't planning on standing up, sir. Despite everything, he almost smiled. Then he was moving again, leaving her behind his men as he advanced on Park with terrifying purpose. Naomi didn't watch what happened next. The sounds were enough. Screams, begging, a wet thud that made her stomach turn. Then, silence. Kang returned, blood on his hands and suit, expression empty again. He lifted Naomi like she weighed nothing, carrying her out of the warehouse into the cold Seoul night where a fleet of vehicles waited. Hospital, he told someone. I'm fine, Naomi protested, even though she was shaking so hard her teeth chattered. You're in shock. Hospital, now. She didn't argue again. In the back of a car that smelled like leather and gunpowder, Kang held her while she shook, didn't speak, didn't try to comfort, just held her with a grip that said, I've got you. And despite everything, the violence, the terror, the blood still drying on his hands, Naomi felt safe. That should have scared her most of all. The hospital was private, expensive, and clearly accustomed to treating Kang's people. No questions asked about the zip-tie marks on her wrists or the bruises forming on her arms. The doctor examined her, declared her physically fine except for shock and minor contusions, prescribed rest. Kang didn't leave her side. He sat in the chair beside her hospital bed, still in his blood-stained suit, and made calls in rapid Korean. Naomi caught enough to understand he was systematically dismantling Park's entire organization. Assets seized, allies turned, properties burned. Within 6 hours, Park Jun's empire ceased to exist. You killed him, Naomi said when the call stopped. Yes, because of me, because he touched what's mine. Kang's eyes were dark, unreadable. I warned you this world was dangerous. I didn't warn you that being associated with me makes you a target. Should you have? Yes? He leaned forward, elbows on knees. I should have. I was selfish. I wanted your honesty, your observations, your... He stopped, something flickering across his face. You. I wanted you near me, and I didn't consider the cost. Naomi sat up despite the doctor's orders, ignoring the IV pulling at her arm. You saved me. I put you in danger first. I chose this. You gave me the option to walk away, remember? I chose to work for you, knowing what you were. Knowing facts and experiencing reality are different things. His voice was rough. You could have died tonight. Park could have killed you before I arrived. The thought of that. He stopped again, jaw tight. Naomi realized something that should have been obvious. Kang Dae-hyun was terrified. Not of Park, not of the violence, but of losing her. I'm alive, she said quietly, because you came for me. I'll always come for you. The words were fierce, absolute. Anyone who touches you, I'll end them. Anyone who threatens you, I'll erase them. You're under my protection now, whether you want it or not. That sounds like I don't have a choice. You don't. Not anymore. He met her eyes. I'm sorry. I'm not. His expression shifted. Surprise, then something warmer. You should be. This life, my world, it only gets more dangerous. Then teach me to survive it. Naomi, you said you needed someone you could trust. Someone observant and honest. I'm still that person. She swallowed. I need to learn your world better. The real parts, not just the business meetings. Kang was silent for a long moment. Then, if I do this, if I bring you deeper in, there's no going back. You'll see things, know things, become complicit in things that will change you. I'm already complicit. Park took me because I work for you. Going back to ignorance won't make me safer. No, he agreed. It won't. So teach me. His smile was small, sharp. Starting tomorrow, you'll train with my security team. Combat basics, situational awareness, escape tactics. You'll also learn the real business. Shipments, territories, rival families. Everything. Everything? Everything. He stood, moving closer to the bed. But first, you rest. Doctor's orders. Sir, that's not a request. But his tone was gentle. He reached out, brushed a strand of hair from her face with surprisingly careful fingers. You scared me tonight. I don't scare easily. Naomi's breath caught. This close, she could see the exhaustion in his eyes, the tension in his shoulders. He'd torn apart an empire in 6 hours because of her. Thank you, she whispered, for coming for me. Always. He stepped back, professional distance returning. Sleep. I'll be outside. You don't have to. I do. His voice was final. Sleep, Naomi. She did, eventually, and when nightmares woke her at 3 a.m., zip ties, guns, Park's smile, Kong was there in the chair beside her bed, eyes closed but clearly not sleeping, his presence a wall between her and the world. For the first time since Simone died, Naomi didn't feel alone, and that terrified her more than anything Park had done. The training started brutal and stayed that way. Kong's head of security was a woman named Baek Soo-min, 50 years old, 5'0", and absolutely lethal. She took one look at Naomi and said in perfect English, "You're soft. 11 days won't fix that, but we'll try." The first day, Soo-min taught Naomi how to fall without breaking bones. They spent 6 hours on mats, Soo-min throwing her repeatedly while explaining, "In a fight you will go down. How you land determines if you get back up." The second day, escape tactics, zip ties, rope, duct tape, handcuffs. "Always carry a bobby pin," Soo-min instructed. "Always know where the exits are. Always have a backup plan." The third day, weapons. Not guns. Soo-min said firearms required months of training Naomi didn't have. Instead, knives, improvised weapons, pressure points. "Your goal isn't to win a fight," Soo-min explained. "It's to survive long enough for help to arrive." By the end of week 1, Naomi was covered in bruises and could barely move without something hurting. Kong found her in the training room after hours, stretching on the mats. He'd been keeping his distance since the hospital, giving her space. But something in his expression said the distance was wearing on him. "Soo-min says you're a quick learner," he said. "Soo-min lies to make me feel better." Soo-min doesn't lie. He crossed the room, sat on the mat beside her. "She also says you don't quit, even when you probably should. Quitting isn't in my vocabulary." "Sir, I've noticed." He was quiet for a moment. "How are you sleeping?" The question was careful, gentle. Naomi considered lying, decided against it. "Not well. I keep seeing Park's smile, hearing the gunshots, feeling the zip ties." She flexed her wrists unconsciously. "But it's getting better. It will, eventually." His voice carried experience. He'd lived through trauma, knew its shape. "If you need to talk, I know where to find you, sir." The formality made him flinch. "You can call me Dae-hyun when we're alone." Naomi's pulse kicked up. The familiarity, the permission. It was intimate in a way that had nothing to do with attraction and everything to do with trust. "Dae-hyun," she tested. The name felt strange in her mouth, too personal. "It doesn't feel right." "Neither did Sir when you first said it, but you made it right." He met her eyes. "I want you to be comfortable with me, not just professional." "Why?" "Because," he stopped, something vulnerable crossing his face. "Because you're the only person who sees me as human. I don't want to lose that." Naomi's chest tightened. This man, this ruthless crime lord who'd killed for her, was asking for her humanity. Her simple recognition that beneath the violence, he was still a person. "Okay," she said. "Dae-hyun." His smile was soft, genuine. "Better." They sat in companionable silence while Naomi continued stretching. Then Kang, Dae-hyun, spoke again. "Park wasn't the only threat. Other families saw what happened, that I moved an entire organization for you. Some see it as weakness, others as opportunity." "Opportunity how?" "To take you again, to use you as leverage." His jaw tightened. "I've increased your security detail. 4 guards, rotating shifts. They'll be invisible, but always there." "That seems excessive." "It's necessary. Until everyone understands that touching you means war, you're in danger." Naomi absorbed that. "So I'm bait?" "No, you're protected. But your presence will force rivals to make a choice, respect my boundaries or face elimination." He turned to face her fully. "I won't use you as bait, but I won't hide you either. That would show fear, and fear invites aggression. So I just live my life? With invisible guards?" "Yes. And you continue learning the business, attending meetings, being my assistant." His expression softened. "Being my friend." Friend. The word hung between them, weighted with meaning. Is that what we are? Naomi asked quietly. I'd like to be, if you're willing. She thought about it, about the past 2 weeks, the violence and fear, but also the moments of surprising gentleness, the way he listened when she spoke, the way he'd held her in the car after the warehouse, the way he was asking, not demanding. Yeah, she said. I'm willing. His relief was visible. Good. They stayed on the mats for another hour, not talking much, just existing in each other's presence. And Naomi realized something that should have scared her. This felt natural. Sitting with a crime lord in an empty training room, bruised and exhausted, felt more right than anything had in years. She was in trouble. Deep, dangerous trouble. And she didn't want to escape it. The next phase of Naomi's education was the real business, the illegal operations that funded Kang's empire. He didn't ease her into it. 2 days after their conversation in the training room, he brought her to a shipment inspection at the port. Stay close, he instructed as they walked through the massive container yard. Watch everything. Say nothing unless I ask. The container held electronics, officially. Unofficially, as Kang's lieutenant opened a false panel, it revealed weapons. High-grade military equipment, enough to outfit a small army. Buyers are Syrian rebels, Kang explained to Naomi like he was discussing a business lunch. They pay triple market rate because official channels won't supply them. We broker the deal, take our cut, and move on. Naomi stared at the weapons, assault rifles, ammunition, grenades. This is what you do? Part of it. We also move pharmaceuticals, luxury goods, occasionally people who need to disappear. His tone was matter of fact. I'm showing you this so you understand the scope, so you can make an informed choice about staying. And if I choose to leave, then you leave, with your debt cleared, a generous severance, and my protection for life. He met her eyes. I meant what I said. You always have a choice. Naomi looked at the weapons, then at Daehyun, then at the empire he'd built on violence and necessity. She should be horrified, should run screaming, should call authorities, except authorities in Seoul probably worked for him anyway. Instead, she asked, do you vet your buyers? Yes? So you won't sell to terrorists or human traffickers? Correct. I have lines I don't cross. What about drugs? Pharmaceuticals only. No narcotics, no opioids. I won't contribute to addiction epidemics. Why? His expression darkened. My brother died of an overdose 15 years ago. He was 23, brilliant, and destroyed by drugs someone like me sold him. His voice was tight. I won't be that person. Naomi absorbed that, the pain, the boundary, the line drawn from personal tragedy. Show me the rest, she said. Over the following weeks, Daehyun showed her everything. The nightclubs where high rollers gambled in back rooms, the restaurants that laundered money through inflated receipts, the real estate holdings purchased through shell companies, the network of informants, the corrupt officials on payroll, the rival families in their territories. And Naomi learned, not just the business but the philosophy behind it. Power in this world comes from fear and respect. Daehyun explained during a drive through his territories. Fear keeps enemies at bay. Respect keeps allies loyal. But too much fear breeds resentment. Too much respect breeds complacency. The balance is everything. How do you maintain it? By being predictable in my ruthlessness and surprising in my generosity. He gestured out the window at a community center. I fund that. Free meals, after-school programs, job training. The people in this neighborhood know I'm dangerous, but they also know I protect them. So you're a benevolent dictator? I'm a practical one. Happy communities don't produce informants. Protected people don't cooperate with rivals. He glanced at her. It's not altruism. It's strategy. But Naomi saw the lie in his eyes. It was partially strategy, yes, but she had also seen him personally approve scholarships, attend funerals, ensure elderly residents had heat in winter. The generosity was real, even if he framed it as calculation. She also saw the violence. A rival family's lieutenant tried to poach one of Daehyun's nightclub managers. Daehyun's response was swift and brutal. The lieutenant disappeared. The rival family lost 3 businesses in a single night, and a message was sent that echoed through Seoul's underworld. Touch Kang's people. Lose everything. Naomi watched it happen from the penthouse office, seeing it unfold on monitors and through phone calls. Watched Daehyun orchestrate destruction with the same calm he used to approve construction permits. Does it bother you? She asked that night. Yes. His honesty surprised her. Every time. But if I show weakness, if I hesitate, others will exploit it. My people will suffer. My empire will crumble. So I do what's necessary, and I live with the cost. What is the cost? He was silent for a long moment. Loneliness, isolation, the knowledge that most people who smile at me are terrified, and the ones who aren't are waiting for an opportunity to betray me. I'm not terrified of you. I know. His smile was small, sad. That's why you're dangerous. Dangerous how? Because you make me want things I can't have. Normal things. Friendship without calculation. Trust without paranoia. He looked at her fully. You make me want to be better than what I am. Naomi's breath caught. The vulnerability in his voice. The raw honesty. It stripped away the crime lord and left just a man. A lonely, isolated man who'd built walls so high he couldn't see over them anymore. Maybe you already are better, she said quietly. Maybe you just need someone to remind you. Something shifted in his expression. Hope, maybe, or something close to it. They didn't touch, didn't cross the professional distance that had kept them safe from complications, but the distance was shrinking, and they both knew it. 6 weeks into her employment, Da-hyun invited Naomi to a charity gala. It's a legitimate event, he explained. Seoul's elite pretending to care about poverty while showing off wealth. Boring. Necessary for maintaining my public image. Why do you need me there? Because I can't stand these events alone and you'll make them bearable. He paused. Also because appearing with someone publicly sends a message that you're under my protection. Every family leader will be there. They'll see you beside me and understand. Understand what? That you matter to me. That harming you means war. His eyes held hers. I'm using you as a statement. If that bothers you, it doesn't, Naomi interrupted. She understood the game now, the constant positioning and messaging. When is it? Saturday. I'll have a dress sent to your apartment. The dress arrived Friday. Midnight blue silk that fit like it had been made for her, because it probably had been. Naomi stared at herself in the mirror Saturday evening, barely recognizing the woman looking back. She'd come to Seoul with nothing, and now she was wearing a dress that cost more than her yearly salary in Chicago. The car picked her up at 7. Dae-hyun was waiting inside, looking devastating in a black tux that somehow made him more dangerous rather than civilized. You look... He stopped, something unreadable crossing his face. Beautiful. Thank you, sir. Dae-hyun, he corrected gently. Tonight we're friends attending an event, not employer and employee. Friends. Right. Because friends made her pulse spike and her skin feel too tight. The gala was everything Dae-hyun had promised. Opulent, excessive, and mind-numbingly boring. Seoul's wealthiest elite air-kissed and networked while servers circulated with champagne and canapes. Naomi recognized several faces from Dae-hyun's files, CEOs, politicians, other crime lords in expensive disguises, and they all noticed her. The whispers started immediately. Who was the black woman beside Kang Dae-hyun? Where had she come from? What was their relationship? Dae-hyun ignored the whispers, keeping Naomi close as he navigated the social landscape. His hand rested on the small of her back. Possessive, protective. Every family leader who approached got the same introduction. This is Naomi Baptiste, my assistant and friend. She's under my protection. The message was clear. Halfway through the evening, a man approached who made Dae-hyun's posture shift slightly. A tell Naomi had learned meant danger. Kang, the man said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Lovely event. Choi. Dae-hyun's voice was neutral. I didn't expect to see you here. Why? Because you destroyed my operation last month? Choi's smile sharpened. Water under the bridge. I'm rebuilding. In someone else's territory, I hope. Of course. Choi's eyes slid to Naomi. And who is this lovely creature? Before Dae-hyun could respond, Naomi extended her hand. Naomi Baptiste. I work with Kang Nim. Choi took her hand, held it slightly too long. American? How exotic. Tell me, Miss Baptiste, what brings you to Seoul's underworld? Opportunity, Naomi said smoothly, withdrawing her hand. Same as anyone. Opportunity working for Kang. How brave. His tone made it clear. How stupid. Naomi felt Dae-hyun tense beside her, but she kept her smile pleasant. I've found him to be a fair employer. Generous, even. Generous with his protection, certainly. You'll need it being associated with him. Choi's voice dropped. Men like Kang make a lot of enemies. Those enemies have a habit of targeting what he values. It was a threat, thinly veiled but clear. Naomi's smile never wavered. Then those enemies should consider whether I'm worth the war they'd start. Choi's eyebrows rose. Dae-hyun's hand on her back tightened fractionally. Approval or warning, she couldn't tell. Bold words, Choi said. Accurate words, Dae-hyun cut in, his voice dropping to ice. Naomi is under my complete protection. Anyone who touches her will face me, all of me, not business retaliation, personal annihilation. He stepped closer to Choi, and despite the gala's civilized setting, the threat of violence was palpable. Spread that message to anyone stupid enough to think otherwise. Choi's smile faltered. Understood. He left quickly. Dae-hyun turned to Naomi, his expression tight. You handled that well. Was I supposed to be scared? Most people are of Choi. He runs the Northern Territories, controls the drug trade I refuse to touch. He's dangerous. So are you, Naomi pointed out, but I'm not scared of you either. His expression softened. You should be. Sometimes. Why? You've given me no reason to fear you. I'm a killer, Naomi. I've ordered deaths, committed violence, built an empire on blood. And you've also protected me, trusted me, and shown me more respect than most men who claim to be good. She held his gaze. I'm not naive about what you are, but I also see who you are. Those are different things. Dae-hyun stared at her for a long moment, the gala's noise fading around them. Then he did something unexpected. He offered his hand. Dance with me. It wasn't a request. Naomi took his hand, let him lead her to the dance floor. The music was slow, classical. He pulled her close, closer than strictly appropriate, his hand settling on her waist, hers on his shoulder. They moved together easily, naturally. And Naomi realized this was the closest they'd been since the hospital, since he'd held her while she shook. This was intimacy disguised as propriety, contact permitted by social convention. Thank you, Dae-hyun said quietly, for being here, for standing beside me. You're welcome. I meant what I told Choi. Anyone who touches you faces me, all of me. I know. Does that scare you? That level of protection, that intensity? Naomi considered the question honestly. It should, but no, it makes me feel... What? Valued. Like I matter. She met his eyes. I've spent my whole life being invisible or disposable. You make me feel neither. His hand tightened on her waist. You're not invisible, and you're definitely not disposable. What am I then? The question hung between them, heavy with implications. Dae-hyun's voice dropped lower, meant only for her. You're someone I trust, someone I need, someone I... He stopped, jaw tight. Someone important. Important. The word carried weight, meaning promise. The song ended. They separated, returned to professional distance, but something had shifted. And as the gala continued around them, as they navigated the social warfare and dangerous politics, Naomi realized the truth she'd been avoiding for weeks. She wasn't just working for Kang Dae-hyun anymore. She was falling for him. And in his world, that was the most dangerous thing she could do. 2 days after the gala, everything changed. Naomi was in the penthouse office, reviewing security footage of a new nightclub when Dae-hyun appeared in the doorway. His expression was unreadable, but tension radiated from him like heat. We need to talk, he said. Those 4 words never meant anything good. Naomi closed the laptop, gave him her full attention. About what? He crossed the room, sat on the edge of the desk. Close enough that she could see the conflict in his eyes, the way his jaw was tight with restraint. About us, he said finally. Naomi's heart stuttered. Us? I've been trying to maintain professional distance, to keep our relationship appropriate, safe. His hands flexed, but I'm failing, badly. Dae-hyun, let me finish. He took a breath. At the gala, dancing with you, I realized something I've been denying for weeks. Maybe since you first called me sir and looked at me like I was human. His eyes met hers. I have feelings for you. Real feelings, not just respect or trust, but... He stopped, searching for words. Want, need, things that complicate everything. Naomi's breath caught. She should have seen this coming, should have prepared for it, but hearing him say it out loud still hit like a physical force. I know it's inappropriate, Dae-hyun continued. I'm your employer. You're in a vulnerable position. The power dynamic is all wrong. And my world, it ruins everything good that enters it. You deserve better than me, better than this life. His voice roughened. But I can't stop thinking about you. Can't stop wanting you near me. Can't imagine this world without you in it. Silence stretched between them, heavy and electric. Say something, he said finally. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me to stop. Naomi stood slowly, moving until she was directly in front of him. This close, she could see the vulnerability beneath his control, the fear that she'd reject him. What if I don't want you to stop? She said quietly. His eyes widened fractionally. Naomi, I have feelings too. I've been fighting them, telling myself it's just proximity or gratitude or some kind of trauma bond. She took a breath. But it's not. I look at you and I see someone brilliant and ruthless and surprisingly kind. Someone who's shown me more protection and respect than anyone in my life. Someone who makes me feel valued. You are valued. I know. You make sure I know. Every day, in 100 small ways. She moved closer still. I'm not naive about the complications. About the danger, the imbalance, the fact that this could go very wrong very fast. But I'm also not scared of it. You should be. Why? You've given me every reason to trust you. I'm a killer, Naomi. I've destroyed lives, ended families, done things that would horrify you if you knew the details. His hands clenched. You deserve someone clean, someone safe. I deserve someone who sees me, someone who values me, someone who came for me when I was taken and destroyed an empire because of it. She held his gaze. That's you, flaws, violence, and all. Dae-hyun stared at her like she was something impossible. If we do this, if we cross this line, I won't be able to let you go. You understand that? I'm not asking you to let me go. Naomi, her name was rough, desperate. Be sure, because once I have you, I'll keep you. I'll protect you, provide for you, give you everything you could want. But I'll also be possessive and jealous and probably suffocating sometimes. That's who I am. I know who you are. She reached up, touched his face. The first time she'd initiated contact, his skin was warm, his stubble rough against her palm. I'm sure. The last thread of his control snapped. He pulled her to him, one hand sliding into her hair, the other wrapping around her waist. His mouth found hers in a kiss that was hungry, desperate, claiming. Naomi kissed back with equal intensity, her hands gripping his shoulders, then sliding to his neck, pulling him closer. This was reckless, dangerous, crossing every professional boundary, and it felt absolutely right. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Daehyun pressed his forehead to hers. No going back now. Good, Naomi whispered. He pulled back enough to look at her, his eyes dark and intense. I need you to understand what this means. You'll be mine. Publicly, privately, completely. My enemies will know it. My allies will know it. Everyone will know that touching you means war. I can live with that. Can you? Because it means giving up any illusion of safety. It means being a target, a weakness, a tool people will try to use against me. Then we make sure they fail. She cupped his face in both hands. I'm not fragile, Daehyun. I survived poverty, my sister's death, drowning debt, and being kidnapped by your rival. I can survive being yours. His smile was slow, genuine, beautiful. You're extraordinary. I'm practical, and I know what I want. She kissed him again, softer this time. You. They spent the rest of the evening in the penthouse, learning each other. Not sexually, not yet, but intimately. Daehyun told her about his brother, the overdose that had destroyed his family and hardened him into the man he became. Naomi told him about Simone, the guilt of surviving when her sister didn't, the debt that had followed her like a ghost. I paid off your debt, Daehyun said casually. 3 weeks ago. Naomi went still. What? The medical bills, collection agencies, all of it. I had my accountants handle it, you're clear. Daehyun, I know, I should have asked first, but I couldn't stand watching you carry that weight when I could erase it with a phone call. His eyes searched hers. Are you angry? She should be. It was presumptuous, controlling, a massive overstep. Instead, she felt something crack open in her chest, relief so intense it hurt. The debt that had crushed her for 2 years, gone. Just gone. I should be angry, she said, but I'm just grateful. Thank you. He pulled her close, tucked her against his chest. You never have to thank me for taking care of you. That's my job now. Your job? My privilege. He pressed a kiss to her hair. Get used to it. I take care of what's mine. What's mine? The possessiveness should have chafed. Instead, it felt like safety, like belonging. Naomi let herself relax into his embrace, let herself believe that maybe, impossibly, this could work. For a few hours, she forgot about the danger. That was a mistake. The attack came 3 days later, and it came for Naomi's past. She was in her apartment, rare downtime Daehyun had insisted on, when her phone rang. Unknown number, Seoul area code. Hello? Naomi Baptiste? The voice was female, American, professional. Yes? My name is Jennifer Walsh. I'm a reporter with the Seoul International Tribune. I'm working on a piece about Kang Daehyun and his organization, and I understand you work closely with him. Naomi's blood went cold. No comment. I have information about your sister's death, about the medical debt, the collection agencies, the suspicious timing of that debt being paid off 3 weeks ago. Papers rustled. I also have sources claiming Kang uses women like you, vulnerable, desperate, as fronts for his operations, gets them dependent on him, then exploits them. That's not, did he pay off your debt, Miss Baptiste? Naomi hung up. Her phone immediately rang again. Different number. She declined the call. A text came through. Unknown. I'm running this story whether you comment or not. Give me your side or I'll print theirs. Another text, this one with an attachment. Naomi opened it against her better judgment. It was a photo of her and Daehyun at the gala, dancing. The caption, Crime Lord's latest conquest, American woman with mysterious past. Her phone rang again, this time Daehyun's number. Don't answer any calls from reporters, he said immediately. I just got word they're running a story about you, about us. I know, one just called me. What did you tell her? Nothing. I hung up. Naomi's hands shook. Daehyun, they know about my debt, about you paying it off. They're going to make it look like you bought me. Let them. I don't care what reporters think, but I do. This will make me look weak, like I'm some gold digger who latched onto you for money. You're not. Anyone who knows you understands that, but they don't know me. They'll see the story and make assumptions. Her voice cracked. They'll use my sister's death, my struggles, and twist them into something ugly. Silence on the line. Then, pack a bag. I'm sending a car. You're staying at the penthouse until this blows over. Running away won't— This isn't running. This is regrouping. His voice was firm. These reporters, they're not working alone. Someone fed them information about you. Someone in my world who wants to hurt me by hurting you. Naomi's stomach dropped. Who? I don't know yet, but I'll find out. The promise in his voice was dark. Pack a bag. The car will be there in 10 minutes. He hung up. Naomi stared at her phone, her mind racing. Someone was targeting her, using her past as a weapon, and the story would break soon, painting her as exactly what she'd feared, a desperate woman who'd sold herself to a crime lord for security. The truth was more complicated. She'd chosen Da-hyun, chosen this life, chosen to cross professional lines into something real. But truth didn't matter to tabloids. 10 minutes later, she was in the car heading to the penthouse, watching Seoul blur past, wondering how her life had spiraled from simple survival to this. Da-hyun was waiting when she arrived, his expression thunderous. The story drops in 6 hours. I've got lawyers working on suppressing it, but it's going to get out. What does it say? He handed her a tablet. The article was already written, just waiting for publication. Kang Da-hyun's American assistant, desperate woman or willing accomplice. Naomi read through it, her chest tightening with every paragraph. They'd gotten details wrong, exaggerated others, and painted her as either a naive victim or a calculating opportunist. They implied the relationship was transactional, that she'd traded her body for debt relief. They made her sound weak. This is going to destroy my reputation, she said quietly. Your reputation is fine. You've done nothing wrong. Haven't I? She looked up at him. I started working for a crime lord. I got involved with him romantically despite the power imbalance. I let him pay off my debt. On paper, this looks exactly like what they're saying. On paper, maybe. But we know the truth. Truth doesn't matter if no one believes it. She set the tablet down. Da-hyun, maybe we should— No. His voice was steel. Whatever you're about to suggest, the answer is no. We're not ending this. We're not hiding. We're not letting reporters dictate our lives. But I will handle this. He moved to her, cupped her face in his hands. I will find who leaked the information. I will make them regret it, and I will ensure every outlet in this city understands that attacking you is attacking me. You can't control the media. Watch me. His certainty should have been comforting. Instead, it made Naomi realize something chilling. Da-hyun would burn down the world for her, would destroy careers, ruin lives, commit violence, all to protect her reputation. And she wasn't sure she wanted to be worth that much destruction. I need air, she said, stepping back. I need to think. Naomi, please, just give me an hour. He studied her face, then nodded reluctantly. The terrace. Don't leave the building. She escaped to the penthouse terrace, Seoul spreading below her like a circuit board of lights. Up here, 40 floors above the chaos, she could almost pretend the world was simple. But it wasn't. She'd come to Seoul running from poverty and failure. She'd found safety, purpose, and impossibly, love. But the cost was becoming clear. Her privacy, her past, her identity as anything other than Kang Da-hyun's woman. Was it worth it? Before she could answer her own question, her phone buzzed. Not a call this time. A message from an unknown number. Unknown. The story is just the beginning. Walk away from Kang, or we dig deeper. Your sister's death wasn't as clean as you think. Want the world to know? Naomi's blood turned to ice. Her sister's death. They were threatening to investigate Simone's death, to find dirt, to create scandal where there was only tragedy. This wasn't journalism. This was blackmail. She screenshot the message and went back inside. Da-hyun was on the phone, speaking rapid Korean. He hung up when he saw her face. What happened? She showed him the message. His expression went from concerned to murderous in half a second. Give me the phone. Da-hyun. Now. She handed it over. He forwarded the message to someone, then turned to her with frightening calm. This confirms it. Someone hired these reporters, someone who knows your history and is using it as leverage. His jaw was tight. I'm going to find them, and when I do— No. Naomi's voice was firm. No more violence because of me. They're threatening you, threatening your sister's memory, and I won't let them win by making you into a monster. She took the phone back. There's another way. What way? I tell my story. First, on my terms. She met his eyes. I do an interview. Explain who I am, why I came to Seoul, what working for you really means. I control the narrative before they can. Da-hyun was silent for a long moment. That exposes you even more. I'm already exposed, at least this way. It's the truth. You don't have to do this. Yes, I do. Because I won't let them make me ashamed of surviving, of choosing you, of building something real from nothing. Her voice strengthened. I'm not weak. I'm not a victim, and I'm not going to hide like I am. Slowly, Da-hyun smiled. You're incredible. I'm practical, and I'm tired of being afraid. She pulled out her phone. Set up the interview tomorrow. I'll tell them everything. Everything? Everything that matters. Who I am, who you are to me, why I chose this. She held his gaze. Let them judge. I know my truth. Daehyun pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. I'll arrange it. But Naomi, yes? After this, after you've told your story and the world knows, he pulled back to look at her. Stay anyway. Not because you're afraid of the alternative, but because you want to. I already want to, she said. That's why I'm fighting. He kissed her then, deep and claiming. And Naomi kissed back, knowing that tomorrow she'd face the world's judgment. But tonight, she was exactly where she wanted to be. The interview was set for the next afternoon at a neutral location, a private room in an upscale hotel. Daehyun insisted on attending. Sitting just off camera as support, the interviewer was a respected journalist named Hannah Chen, known for fair reporting. Daehyun's team had vetted her personally. Miss Baptiste, Hannah began once cameras were rolling, thank you for agreeing to this interview. There's been a lot of speculation about your relationship with Kang Daehyun. Let's start simple. How did you meet? Naomi took a breath, then told the truth. She explained the debt, the desperation, coming to Seoul with nothing, the poker tournament where she'd called him sir out of basic respect, his offer of employment. Were you coerced into accepting? Hannah asked. No, he gave me a choice. I could have said no and continued working for the catering service. I chose to work for him because the opportunity was legitimate and the pay would clear my debt. A debt he later paid off? Yes, without my asking. He saw I was struggling and eliminated the problem. Naomi met the camera directly. I know how that looks, but I didn't work for him to get my debt paid. I worked for him because he valued my skills and treated me with respect. And the romantic relationship? This was the dangerous question. Naomi could feel Daehyun tense off camera. Developed over time. We spent months working closely together. I learned who he was beyond his reputation. He learned who I was beyond my struggles. Feelings grew naturally. She paused. I won't apologize for that. Some might say the power imbalance makes the relationship inappropriate. Some might say that a woman has the agency to make her own choices about who she cares for. Naomi's voice was steady. I'm not a victim. I'm not a conquest. I'm a woman who chose to work for a complicated man in a complicated world and who later chose to care for him as a person. Are you aware of Mr. Kang's alleged criminal activities? I'm aware of allegations. I'm also aware that he runs numerous legitimate businesses and employs thousands of people. I work in the legitimate sector. It was a careful answer, not a lie, but not the whole truth. Hannah seemed to respect the boundary. What do you say to critics who claim you're either naive or complicit? I say I'm neither. I'm a survivor who saw an opportunity and took it. I'm a woman who refused to be crushed by circumstances beyond her control. And I'm someone who believes people are more than their worst actions or their public reputations. Naomi leaned forward. I came to Seoul with nothing. I'm building something now. That's not a scandal. That's survival. The interview continued for another 30 minutes. Hannah asked about Simone, about the medical debt, about Naomi's life in Chicago. Every question, Naomi answered with unflinching honesty. When it finished, Hannah paused the recording. Off the record, you handled that beautifully. Thank you. One more thing. Hannah's expression was serious. Someone offered me a lot of money to make this interview hostile, to paint you as a gold digger. I refused, but others might not. Naomi's stomach tightened. Who? I don't know. The offer came through intermediaries, but someone wants you discredited badly. Hannah glanced at Daehyun. Watch your back. After Hannah left, Daehyun moved to Naomi's side. You were perfect. I just told the truth. That's why you were perfect. He pulled her close. But Hannah was right. Someone is coming for you hard. I need to find out who before they escalate. How do you find someone working through intermediaries? By making them reveal themselves. His expression was calculating. They want to discredit you, so we make you too visible to attack quietly. What does that mean? It means we go public, completely. You become my official partner in everything, business, personal, all of it. We make it clear that you're not hidden mistress or secret weakness. You're my equal. Naomi stared at him. Daehyun, that's dangerous, I know, but hiding hasn't protected you. Maybe visibility will. He cupped her face. Besides, I'm tired of pretending you're just my assistant. You're so much more. What am I? His smile was soft, genuine. Mine, if you'll have me. I already said yes. I mean permanently. Move into the penthouse. Work beside me openly. Let the world see what you mean to me. It was a massive step. Giving up her apartment, her independence, her last shield of separation between personal and professional. It was also what she wanted. Okay, Naomi said. Let's do it. His kiss was fierce, grateful, claiming. And when they broke apart, he whispered against her lips, no going back now. Good, she whispered back. The interview aired that evening. Initial reactions were mixed, some sympathetic, some skeptical. But Naomi's honest, unflinching presentation made her hard to dismiss as a simple gold digger. More importantly, it shifted the narrative. She was no longer a mystery woman in the shadows. She was Naomi Baptiste, survivor, professional, Kang De-hyun's chosen partner. That night, moving her few possessions into the penthouse, Naomi felt something she hadn't felt since before Simone got sick. Hope. Real, tangible hope that life could be more than just surviving. It could be living. Living with De-hyun changed everything. Naomi saw him at his most human, making coffee at 5 a.m. before meetings, reviewing contracts in reading glasses he refused to wear in public, working out with brutal intensity to burn off stress. She learned his routines, his tells, his vulnerabilities, and he learned hers. Her habit of organizing things when anxious, the way she talked to Simone's photo when she thought she was alone, her inability to sleep past 6 a.m. because years of poverty had trained her to maximize daylight hours. They fell into a rhythm that felt shockingly domestic, despite the violence and empire building surrounding them. "You reorganized my closet," De-hyun observed one morning, finding his suits arranged by color and fabric weight. "You had no system. It was chaos. It was fine. It was inefficient." Naomi handed him coffee. "Now you can find things." He pulled her in for a kiss. "You're perfect. I'm practical." Same thing, but the domesticity existed alongside the danger. Naomi attended meetings where decisions meant life or death for people she'd never meet. She reviewed contracts that were fronts for illegal operations. She sat in the penthouse office while De-hyun orchestrated the complex, violent chess game of his empire, and she contributed. During a meeting with De-hyun's lieutenants about a territorial dispute, Naomi noticed something in the rival family's pattern. They're escalating attacks on your eastern holdings, but ignoring the west. Why? The room went quiet. One of the lieutenants, a man named Yoon, said slowly, "Western territory is harder to access, more secure." "Or they're already inside," Naomi suggested. "If they're ignoring the West, maybe they don't need to attack it. Maybe they already control something there." De-hyun's eyes sharpened. "Check every operation in the Western District. I want full audits by tomorrow." The audits revealed 2 nightclub managers were feeding information to the rival family. De-hyun dealt with them swiftly, not violence, surprisingly, but exile with a warning that returning to Seoul meant death. "You're going soft," Yoon observed. "I'm being strategic," De-hyun corrected. "Dead men make martyrs. Exiled men make examples. Besides," he glanced at Naomi, "someone reminded me that violence should be a last resort, not a first response." Naomi felt the weight of that. She was changing him, not making him soft, but giving him space to choose mercy when it served him. She wasn't sure if that was good or dangerous. Probably both. 3 months into living together, Da-hyun called a full meeting of his organization's leadership. Naomi attended as always, sitting beside him, taking notes, observing. But this meeting was different. "I'm restructuring operations," De-hyun announced to the 20 men gathered around the conference table. "Moving away from high-risk ventures, focusing on sustainable, legitimate businesses. The timeline is 5 years to complete transition." Silence. Then, explosion of voices, protests, questions, anger. "You're dismantling what your father built," one older lieutenant said. "My father built an empire that killed him at 45, De-hyun replied calmly. "I'm building something that lasts." "This is because of her," another man said, jerking his chin toward Naomi. "The American. She's made you weak." The temperature in the room dropped 20 degrees. Da-hyun stood slowly, and every man went quiet. "Say that again." The man, Kwan, Naomi remembered, swallowed hard but held his ground. "She's changed you, made you soft. We should be expanding territory, not retreating." "I'm not retreating. I'm evolving." Da-hyun's voice was ice. "And yes, Naomi has influenced my thinking. She's shown me that power doesn't require constant violence, that strength can be strategic rather than reactive." He looked at each man individually. "Anyone who has a problem with that can leave, with severance and my blessing. But if you stay, you follow my vision." 4 men stood and walked out. The rest stayed. After the meeting, Yoon approached Naomi privately. "He's never let anyone influence him before, ever. I don't influence him, I advise." "Same thing with him." Yoon studied her. "You're either going to save him or destroy him. Not sure which yet." "Why not both?" Naomi asked. Yoon actually smiled. "You might survive this world after all." That night, alone in the penthouse, De-hyun pulled Naomi onto the couch beside him. "Thank you." "For what?" "For making me want to build something better. For showing me that the empire doesn't have to consume everything good in my life." He kissed her temple. "I'm going legitimate because of you. Because I want a life where I'm not waiting for the next assassination attempt, where we can exist without constant violence. That's a 5-year plan. What about the meantime? The meantime, we survive. Together." His arms tightened around her. No matter what comes. What came was worse than either of them expected. The betrayal came from inside. Yoon, reliable, loyal Yoon, had been selling information to a rival family for 6 months. Small things at first, shipment schedules, security rotations, but recently he'd escalated to major intelligence, financial accounts, safe house locations, and worst of all, Naomi's daily routine. Daehyun discovered it through a routine security audit. One morning, Naomi woke to find him in the office, monitors showing surveillance footage, his expression carved from stone. "What's wrong?" she asked. "Yoon's been feeding information to the Hwang family about you, your movements, your routines when you're alone." His voice was terrifyingly calm. "He's setting you up for another kidnapping." Naomi's blood went cold. "When?" "Tomorrow. They plan to take you during your morning run in the park." She'd started running again, physical therapy for the stress. Always with 2 guards trailing at a distance, apparently not discreet enough. "What are you going to do?" she asked. "Kill him. Simple. Final. He betrayed the organization and endangered you. There's only one response." "Daehyun, don't." His eyes met hers and they were empty. The ruthless crime lord was back. The gentleman who held her at night temporarily disappeared. "This isn't negotiable." He knew the consequences of betrayal. Naomi wanted to argue, wanted to plead for mercy. But she understood the reality. In this world, betrayal meant death. Allowing Yoon to live would signal weakness, invite more betrayal. "I want to be there," she said instead. Daehyun's expression shifted to surprise. "Why?" "Because if this is happening because of me, I should witness it." She held his gaze. "I'm not naive about your world anymore. I won't hide from the consequences." For a long moment, he studied her. Then, "Okay." They went to a warehouse on the outskirts of Seoul. Yoon was already there, bound to a chair, blood on his face from resisting capture. He looked up when they entered, his expression shifting from fear to resignation when he saw Naomi. "I'm sorry," he said. Not to Daehyun, to her. "Why?" Naomi asked. "The Hwang family offered me triple what I make here, and they promised—" He stopped, looked away. "My daughter needs surgery, experimental treatment in America. It costs $500,000. They promised to pay for it." Silence. Daehyun's expression didn't change, but Naomi saw his hand flex. "You could have asked me. Would you have paid? For a loyal lieutenant?" "Yes." "Immediately." Daehyun moved closer. "But you didn't ask. You sold us out instead." "I didn't think you'd—" Yoon's voice cracked. "You're ruthless. Everyone knows that. I didn't think you'd help." "You didn't ask," Daehyun repeated. Naomi felt something twist in her chest. This man had betrayed them because he was desperate, because he assumed the worst, because he couldn't see past Daehyun's reputation to ask for help. "How old is your daughter?" she asked. Yoon blinked. 7. "And the surgery would save her life?" "The doctors say she has 6 months without it." Naomi looked at Daehyun, saw the ruthless crime lord ready to execute a traitor, but also saw the man who funded scholarships in community centers, who'd paid off her debt without being asked. "Pay for the surgery," she said. The warehouse went silent. Daehyun turned to her slowly. "What?" "His daughter is 7 years old and dying. Pay for the surgery." She held his gaze. "Then exile him. Let him leave Seoul with his life but never return. He betrayed us. Endangered you." "I know. And he deserves punishment, but his daughter doesn't deserve to die because he made a desperate choice." Her voice was steady. "You're going legitimate, building something better. Start by showing mercy when you can afford it." The tension in the warehouse was suffocating. Daehyun's jaw was tight, his eyes dark with conflict. Finally, he spoke. "The Hwang family dies, all of them, for attempting to kidnap you." "Agreed," Naomi said. "Yoon gets his daughter's surgery paid for. Then he's exiled. If he ever returns to Seoul, he dies." "Agreed." Daehyun turned to Yoon. "You hear that? Your daughter lives. You get to watch her grow up, but you leave Korea and never come back." Yoon was crying. Thank you. I'm so sorry." "Save it." Daehyun's voice was cold. "You're alive because Naomi has a softer heart than I do. Don't make me regret listening to her." They left Yoon in the warehouse. Daehyun's men would handle the logistics, surgery arrangements, exile processing, ensuring he actually left. In the car back to the city, Daehyun was silent. Naomi waited, knowing he was processing. Finally, "You undermined me. I offered an alternative. In front of my men. That makes me look weak. Does it? Or does it make you look strong enough to show mercy?" She turned to him. "Your father would have killed Yoon without hesitation. You chose differently. That's not weakness. That's growth." Daehyun stared out the window at Seoul passing by. "I wanted to kill him. Part of me still does." "I know. But you're right. His daughter doesn't deserve to suffer for his choices." He looked at her. "You're changing me, making me question every instinct I've honed for 20 years. Is that bad?" "I don't know yet." But his hand found hers, laced their fingers together. Ask me in 5 years when we're fully legitimate. Deal. That night, as they lay in bed, Daehyun held her close. The Hwang family will retaliate for my response. They'll come for you again. Then we'll be ready. I can't lose you. His voice was raw. I can't. If something happened to you because of my world, then we make sure nothing happens. She turned in his arms to face him. We're smarter than them, faster, more ruthless when we need to be. We'll survive. Together? Together. He kissed her then, and she felt the desperation in it, the fear beneath his control, the very human terror of losing something precious. She kissed back with equal intensity, silently promising, I'm not going anywhere. Even as she wondered if that was a promise she could keep. The Hwang family retaliated exactly as predicted, but they didn't come for Naomi. They came for Daehyun's legitimate businesses. Arson at 2 restaurants, vandalism at a construction site, threatening letters sent to corporate partners. They're trying to destroy what you're building, Naomi observed, watching security footage of the latest attack. They're trying to make me choose between going back to pure violence or losing everything. Daehyun's voice was tight. Classic strategy. So what do? We hit back harder, faster, more comprehensively. His eyes were cold. I'll dismantle their empire in 72 hours. And he did. Naomi watched him orchestrate total warfare from the penthouse office. Assets frozen through corrupt banking officials, shipments intercepted by paid-off customs agents, key lieutenants turned or eliminated. Within 3 days, the Hwang family's empire was rubble. The end.